Okay, thank you, Sudarshan, for that wonderful introduction. Um, while you were saying calm, cool, and composed, she was like laughing her heart out. And the topic is also related to that. So let's pray and then we'll start. Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for your word. Lord, we pray that you will speak through me. You'll open the ears and hearts of the people who are here. Lord, that your word will take root in the heart like the good seeds, Lord Father, in the good soil. We commit this time into your hands. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so today the topic is emotions, compass, not captain. Stop laughing. So the first thing when I told Jyotsna, what my topic is, she just laughed for 2 minutes because she feels like, this is like somebody who's never made, a dish in his life trying to explain how to make a very nice dish. Okay, because I'm I'm not here as an expert. I'm terrible at this. That's why she laughed. I'm very bad at managing emotions. So but the good thing about that is I will be able to share with you exactly all the stuff that you should not do because that's where I am very strong at. And the second part of that is because I don't know much about this, I do a lot of like research or reading up on this. So you will also get a fair amount of what you should do. Um, my source for this is the Bible, the commentary, and a lot of the stuff that I write in my journal. Because when I'm trying to, when I'm processing something I write, it helps me to kind of make sense of what is happening. So I go back and then I refer to it. Because sometimes, I'm always surprised by the number of times I'm going through something and I feel this is a new situation, and I go back to my journal and I realize this has happened before, and this is how we managed it at that time. Um, so let me move now forward. So if I were to ask a question, how many of us are comfortable to be known as a logical person or as an emotional person? Like, which one do you think is better? Logical person. Yes. Okay. Everybody agrees. Any person who wants to be known as emotional person? Nobody. Okay. Okay. Yes. Oh, you have two people. So now let me pose one more question. There was there were 100 sheep. 99 of them are in the place. One is missing. What is that decision to go after that one missing one? Is it a logical one or is it an emotional one? Okay. Anyone wants to change their answer from before? No? Okay. So it's like, being emotional is a very bad reputation, today, because you are seen as, oh, you can't, control your your emotions. You're very easily perturbed by things that happen. Anything unexpected that happens, your whole, mind is in a mess. And that's why we usually, we feel, even if you're an emotional person, I'll not say that I'm an emotional person, because that's the perception that people, too much drama. So that's the that's the perspective that people have. But is being an emotional person really that bad? No, right? Okay. So being an emotional person means you're like a boat, you're in the storm, and you just keep getting tossed with every wave, right? If you let your actions, or if you let your thinking be guided by emotions completely, then you're like a ship that is getting tossed on the sea. The ship has the compass, and the role of the compass is to tell you which direction you're going. But if you're not actively steering the ship will go wherever the storm is going to take. You will be excellent in knowing where you're going, but that's not where you want to go. You have absolutely crystal clear knowledge of I am like 100-degree north and east and all of that, but that's nowhere where you want it to be. Emotions are supposed to be a guide. They are supposed to indicate, not dictate. Because the other extreme of not being emotional at all, right? So, those who said we want to be logical people, yeah, so before I go into that. So, why is it difficult? Why do we say that if you let your life be led by emotions, it is going to be a very uncertain life? Because there are three characteristics of emotions, of feelings. Okay? One is feelings are fleeting or temporary. I use the word fleeting instead of temporary because the speed with which it changes is like super fast. Let me give you an example. Sunday morning, you're ready, you're had your morning time of prayer, you're absolutely calm and composed like how Sudarshan introduced me. You sit in the car, you start going. Suddenly an auto will come and cut. In that 1 second, your calmness is gone. Okay, you're irritated. That's how much time it takes for feelings to change. So when you're guiding your life or decisions in your life basis emotions, you're basically depending on something that can change in the fraction of a second. It is very, very temporary. The second reason why anchoring our life only on emotions is not a good thing is because emotions or feelings are biased. They're very subjective. Let me give you an example. You go to watch a movie with your friends. You have like very fun time. You thoroughly enjoyed the movie. You had great time. You come back. Next time, you go for the same movie or a different movie, but with a different set of friends. Okay? Or let's say with like relatives. You are not going to enjoy that movie as much as you did when you went with your friends. The way you feel, the way some people are laughing. It's like the way you feel, the way you enjoy something very much depends on who's around you. What time is it? Or where is it happening, right? Sometimes I remember when we initially started working and we were making like weekend plans. So somebody will say we'll go to that mall, or someone else says something. Finally, we'll be like, "Ghar pe rehte hai na. Everything is everybody is here only. This is the best place to be." So depending on where you are, what time of the day, what your mood is, who you're with, all of this affects. So you cannot depend on something that is dependent on so many other factors to be objective. It is going to be biased, right? The third thing is feelings by default can be very easily manipulated. I will give you an example. You go to you're full, okay, you've just had lunch, you're full, you're walking in the mall, a nice bakery cinnamon smell is coming. Suddenly you feel like, I can have like one more cinnamon roll I can have. Or it affects me every time. I walk, I'm walking, I'm deciding like what to eat. Then I get the smell of the agarbatti in the South Indian restaurant. As soon as I get that smell, I think of masala dosa. And then I go and eat. So it is, your feeling, what you feel is so easily manipulated. There's a whole field called aroma marketing. Okay? Like the next time you go into a shop and you get the smell and you never got that smell anywhere else, it's only in that place. It is designed to make you feel that way. Don't think that it is by chance. It is designed to make you feel that. So, feelings are fleeting, they are biased, they can be very easily manipulated. So, it's not a good idea to anchor your important things in life or major decisions or even like day-to-day stuff purely on feelings. They're important, but it's not a good idea to depend on them completely, right? So what's the other extreme? The other extreme is when whole world is burning, no problem. Calm. Doesn't matter what is happening. We have people like this in our office. Somewhere, somebody has, like the Bangladesh business is like at the verge of shutting down. Okay? And like somebody is asking, boss, kaisa chal raha hai? Sab sahi hai. I'm like, seriously? Are you seeing what is happening? Like we're getting covered on Al Jazeera and all, like that level. So this is the other extreme, where you refuse to acknowledge. And all is like, I'm like way above all of this stuff. Or it's like mere mortal emotions, doesn't affect me. So this is not how we are intended to operate, because that can be done only by robots. No emotion, cold logic. But we are not designed to be robots. We are created in the image of our God, and He created emotions. We are intended to feel things, to feel emotions. Right? So it's a core part of who we are as humans, because the one thing that God seeks from us is relationship. You cannot have relationship with a machine, right? The machine can be taught to obey you, but it does because it is a command. It's not because there's a relationship. So it's very, very important for us to understand that emotions are important, but not get swept away by them. So how do we manage them, right? And the reason why we are so sure that God intended us to feel emotions is because Jesus Himself experienced and expressed emotions. So, the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept, right? He sometimes when we read the Bible and we hear of what Jesus did and what kind of a person He was, sometimes we can think that He was a very, level-headed person, he was never very emotional. He was because He was God, right? He was God and He was man. So sometimes we feel like He was above the emotions that we feel, but it's not. Jesus actually was profoundly impacted by what happened to the people around Him. So He expressed emotions, He expressed really strong emotions. He wept. He was in deep anguish. Yet he was thrilled by the simple faith of the centurion. He was happy, he was filled with sorrow, he felt all the emotions that we as humans feel. And because we follow him and we seek like how we should be, we want to model ourselves basis how he was, how he lived his life. It is very important for us to understand and accept and acknowledge that it is okay to feel emotions. Okay? The flip side of this, which is, yeah, very complicated word you see on the top, alexithymia, is the inability to feel, understand, and express emotions. Okay, it's a neurological disorder. So we can say, neurological hai, mere ko to nahi hai. So then next, let's simplify it. What is alexithymia? It's emotional blindness, which happens to many of us, at times. If you make it as a little bit more simpler, it's what is called hardness of heart, which the Bible cautions us against. Do not let your hearts be hardened. Because what happens when you're facing emotions and you keep pushing them away, that you don't want to feel it, you don't want to feel it. After some time, your heart becomes so hard, nothing pretty much affects you. You become cold and like a machine, and you're unable to like process emotions. It doesn't matter what kind, any emotion. So, one thing I've noticed, people are very serious, like, they're serious all the time. It's not that they're serious when something bad happens. Birthday party, everybody is singing happy birthday. Like one, like a neutral expression. It's almost like he's in a different world. Because you can't suppress one emotion only. When you suppress emotions, it affects everything. You can't pick and choose because that requires a lot of energy. It is mentally exhausting. So what happens is you reject every emotion. It doesn't matter if it is good or bad. And that is hardness of heart. It doesn't matter if it is good or bad. You're just not responding to emotions. Right? Now, all of us are not emotionally blind all the time. Right? Because sometimes we do respond, we engage, and there are certain times like a physical state or a mental state which weakens our ability to emotionally respond. Okay? So we'll cover that next. Okay, I'll play this. The sound is on, no? Okay, let me just check. We'll just wait for them to check the sound because I don't want to play it twice. Once is good. Okay. I feel like I can play? Okay. Oh, sorry. Go back. Back. Oh, forward. Okay. Huh? Can you play it from there? 5 minutes? Okay. Can I move ahead then? I'll move ahead? Okay, okay. I'll explain what that video was. so, so, Po was trying to meditate Okay, so he says, inner peace, dinner please, dinner with peace. Okay, so it's like when you're hungry, you don't think properly. There are, yes, everybody can relate to this. There are four situations which we have to be very careful about, okay? And it's a good acronym to remember. It's called HALT. Very simple. When you are in any of these four states, stop what you're doing. HALT. H is for hungry, A is for angry, L is for lonely, T is for tired. When we are in any one of these states, we don't think clearly. Debbie is nodding like furiously. It's like, come on. So, and we have examples of this, okay? Everybody knows Esau, what he did when he was hungry. There's a proverb, Proverbs 27:7. It says, one who's full loads honey. One who's hungry, even bitter thing is sweet. When you're hungry, it affects your judgment. It doesn't matter what is, at that moment, you just need to fill your stomach. There's nothing else in your mind. Very bad time to have important emotional discussions. Because it is either it'll be like, yeah, yeah. Okay. So what Jyotsna does when she needs something from me, she'll either when I'm working, like in the middle of something, or when I'm hungry, she'll come and listen, I want this. Done. It's the easiest way to close the conversation. Okay? Like the second one is angry. Anger, again, puts us in a state where we are more interested in letting our emotion out versus understanding what the other person is going through. Right? It says, do not sin in your anger. That anger is actually giving devil a foothold. And the longer you stay angry, the longer you're postponing, you're pushing the resolution of that matter, the resolution of that emotion. And 2-3 times you do this, then after that, the other person doesn't respond because they know, as in, nothing's going to happen, right? So anger is the second state which we have to be cautious. If you are in that state, you have to be very, very careful and like deal with emotions after you're settled that. Don't try to deal with it when you're in that state. Lonely, tired. When in all of these states, our primary focus is ourselves. When you're lonely, you don't think of another person, no? Then you will not be lonely in the first place. You will think about yourself. I am so lonely. I am alone. Nobody is around. When you're tired, what do you think about? You think like, I am tired. I'm feeling exhausted. I need rest. The space in your mind for another person is very, very less. So only when you come out of that state can you have an emotionally healthy conversation. So keep this in your mind. HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Whenever you're in any of these states, be cautious. Try to address that first before you get into emotional conversations. What happens when 2 or 3 things happen together? Hungry, lonely, and tired. And angry, and tired. We know of a circumstance like this in the Bible. When Jesus went to the desert, after 40 days, he was hungry, he was alone, he was exhausted. And Satan comes right at that time. Because he knows this is the lowest point. The barriers are all low. This is the easiest time for me to try to tempt him. This is how it happens. Temptation, the same framework can be used for temptation also. When you're hungry, when you're angry, lonely, tired, this is when all your barriers are low. It's very easy for temptation to come in at that time. Right? So, the Like what I said when I started, I am an expert at this. What not to do. So, three things. When you are faced with strong emotions, or let's not qualify strong, medium, any emotion, do not do these three things: distract, deny, or it diminish. Don't distract from the emotion, don't deny the emotion, don't try to diminish the emotion. Okay? Distract. There is no bigger proof that the world is stressed than this. The most asked question on Google, okay, Google publishes this every month, is what to watch. What to watch. The second most searched question is, what time is it? That I don't understand. You're doing this on your phone. The phone has a clock. Like, why would that be so? So, anyways, not everything makes sense. What to watch is the most searched question on Google. Because when you feel stressed, what do? You take the phone, you open YouTube. I type Malayalam comedy scenes. And like watch. It's very comforting. Do not do that. It's like, you're trying to distract yourself. When you're faced with emotions, the longer you distract, the longer that emotion keeps snowballing. Example from the Bible is, when Absalom kept doing bad stuff, David ignored it. Like, bacha hai. Like, things kept becoming bigger and bigger, reached a point where even he could not control. There are many things in today's world which will help us be distracted. Distraction ka koi kami nahi hai. It's very easy to stay distracted. But that also means that you're not addressing things properly. Right? The second thing is deny. This is I'm sure especially couples will relate to this. What's wrong? Nothing. Something would, nothing is wrong. The rest of the day goes in like this, this tension which you can cut with a knife. It is like, everything has that overtone. You're like walking on glass. Like, what will I say which will make this erupt? Don't do this. Okay? It's like, the longer you deny it, again, you're not addressing the problem, right? You're just pushing the can down the road. You'll keep, it'll all erupt at the end of the day. When you're having, dal mein namak thoda kam hai, patak. Then everything breaks loose. All the restraint that was there till then, all of that comes out. So don't deny the emotion. The third is diminish. This I do a lot, okay? Diminish is mostly like you make a fun out of it. Oh, it's like, yeah, I know this is not, at least, so you fail in some subject, you'll know, at least now I know what I'm good at. Akash is clapping. It's like, do not diminish the emotion, okay? These are all different strategies we use, like, because because managing emotions is an uncomfortable thing to do. Nobody wants to do it. So either you try to distract yourself, ki this is not happening only, I am to, or you try to like deny it. Somebody asks you what's wrong, everything is okay. Like Bangladesh example, right? Things are like burning. People are going to lose their job. How's life, dude? Mast. No problem. Or you try to diminish. It's like, there's a subtle way in which sometimes we diminish without really knowing it. Your child comes to you crying, okay? Is crying her heart out. What happened? my teddy is missing. Arey, no, no problem. What does a child understand? My emotion का तो कोई value ही नहीं है. Like I am heartbroken. This toy is missing. No response only. So there are different ways in which we do this, Sometimes we do it to ourselves, sometimes we do it unknowingly to others also. You have to be very careful about how we manage this. So when Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, I will give you rest," he didn't say, only people who are going to airport with a lot of luggage come to me. He meant also like people carrying emotional burden, mental, too many things on your mind. That's what he asked to come. But we somehow have this thing that if I admit that I am, having some emotional baggage, then it will not make me feel good about myself. The one segment of the population does this more than the other. Guess? Does more than the other, of saying, "Koi problem nahi hai, everything is okay." Huh? Yes, men. Okay? Because we want to be tough. If there's any problem, no, there's no problem. Men who don't cry as a concept is a 20th century phenomenon. Old Testament, the people were crying. Prophets were crying. Men were crying. They were weeping. They were, mourning with putting ash on their head. New Testament also we see people crying. Jesus cried. So when did this change? Suddenly this, role of man, मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता. So I was very intrigued by this subject, so I read about it a bit. This whole thing changed when the world wars happened. Okay? When there's a war, the generals or the army people who are sending the people out for war, they cannot have men who come and say, "I am scared, I am not going." They wanted people who will go to the war, irrespective of what is happening. So two world wars and a lot of conflict after that has built this thing of the man has to be emotionless. I am not saying that men should not have the capacity to handle tough things. In the unit of the family, the man is designed to handle more pressure. Okay? But there is also a place for vulnerability. Faith is a journey which you cannot take if you are not vulnerable. The first step is surrender. Not, saying, "Arey, if I surrender, then I will not have any control only in my hands. What will I do then?" It's more and more uncertain. I don't want to have all of this anxiety and, nervousness. So I will, only give that much which I am comfortable giving in the hand of the Lord. Rest I will keep to myself. It doesn't work that way. Right? So, men don't feel bad about feeling emotions. And I'm saying this, like, including myself. I'm not an expert. A lot of times I also feel like, I shouldn't, come across as or exhibit this feeling. But it takes a toll. And we are not meant to carry the burden. We are meant to put it at the feet of Jesus. Okay, so how to train your emotions? I have covered the part which you should not do. Everyone remembers what are the 3 things? Yes. Distract, deny, diminish. Never do that. What should you do? Okay, so there are 3 things. Step 1, feel the emotion. You can keep running away from it. You can keep hiding from it. The longer you run and hide, the bigger it will become. Feel the emotion. That's the first step. Second, pause. Pause and respond. Don't react. There's a difference between responding to something and reacting to something. If you're able to get the pause, then you will respond. If you don't pause, you will react. Reaction is involuntary. There is no control over it. Response is measured. You have control over it. You have thought before you respond. And how do you respond? You respond in faith. I'll explain each of these things. There is no better example of feeling the emotion than what Jesus did when he found out that Lazarus had passed. He did not come and try to distract that emotion. He didn't come and say, okay, now let's, do what is required for the funeral arrangements. Very pragmatic, very practical. Ye to ho gaya, abhi, let's move, next. He didn't do that. He didn't distract himself. He didn't try to diminish it also. He knew that he can bring him back to life. Then why did he cry? He didn't go to Mary and Martha and say, "Are kyun tension le raha hai? Why are you crying? 2 minutes." He didn't do that. He knew that this is as part of his plan, he's going to bring him back to his life. Still he wept because he was in the midst of a congregation of people who were all mourning. Mary and Martha were mourning. He lost his good friend. It is natural to feel that emotion. And he felt it deeply. He wept, right? So the first step in managing the emotion is that you have to feel it. You have to experience that emotion. Don't try to minimize it, or don't try to hide or run away from it. The second step is to pause and respond. And why do I say pause? I remember when I was in school and then later in college, when I used to feel upset about something, I would feel that for like days. It's not like you feel upset about somebody or something for 2 minutes and then you're done, you're okay. You will feel upset for a long time, especially when you've lost something or like strong emotions. I would feel it for a long time. Did you know that the lifetime of an emotion is 90 seconds? 1.5 minutes. In 1.5 minutes, that emotion goes through your body and it is done. In an ideal scenario. In an ideal scenario, you're walking on the road, you see a dog coming running at you. You will feel scared. You will get a surge of adrenaline. That adrenaline runs through your body for 90 seconds. If you do not do anything, the adrenaline comes and it wears off. In 90 seconds, Dr. Right, no? Yes. It wears off. Okay? But what we don't do is, when we get that first emotion, we start thinking, this is why I should not have come out at this time. I knew this dog was looking for me only. I should not have taken this road. I told my husband to go and get this thing from the store. He did not go. So that emotion, which could have gone off in 90 seconds, we engage with it. So you recycle that emotion. You keep feeding the loop. So it doesn't get over. It keeps going. It's like a spiral. You go down deeper and deeper into that emotion, which is how a state of emotion which should have lasted maybe 90 seconds, people say stuck in that state for a long time. Days, months, weeks. Depression is an example of this. When you're not able to regulate with that emotion and you reach a state where you depend on that emotion. You feel like, if I am not feeling troubled, then there's something wrong. I don't feel alive. For me to feel alive, I have to feel trouble. This is what happens when you engage with that emotion for longer than what it is required. Keep this in mind. This was a big learning for me. Keep this in mind. 90 seconds, whatever emotion you're going through. Of course, if there is actually a dog running to bite you, run away. Don't wait for 90 seconds there. But any strong emotion, don't engage with it. Don't keep engaging with it. Know in your mind, in your head, that this is not supposed to last long. It has a life of 90 seconds. It will go. This too shall pass. Right? Third thing, a lot of times, so we have taken the pause. Now, how do I respond? A lot of times response is difficult because there is a lot of uncertainty, right? We don't know what will happen after this. Will the emotion go away? How will that person react? So many, questions in our mind. Like how when Noah was building the ark, God didn't tell him, start building. 6 months later, flood is going to come. He didn't give him a timeline. He said, build the ark. While he was building the ark, I'm sure a lot of people around him would have looked at him and said, what is this guy doing? No cloud only saying flood. How is this possible? Through all of that, Noah kept building because he put his faith in God's plan. When there are strong emotions that come in our way, and we feel that, why is this happening to me? Or why now? How should I respond? What should I do? Go back to the word. Go back to the time of prayer. Go back to faith. Respond in faith. When we deal with complex emotions, we don't have a map to say, okay, when you feel like this, do step 1, 2, 3. Human emotions are a lot more complicated. Like there's no instruction manual on how to navigate them. But we know that we have a God who loves us. These emotions are created, intended for us to feel, and He will give the way to manage them. He will provide the solution. He will see us through, right? That faith will help us manage and respond to the emotions in the right manner. I'll show how Jesus did all these 3 steps in the Bible. Imagine it is night, very dark place, Garden of Gethsemane. Okay? I'll read this portion. It's Matthew 26, 36 to 46. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, sit here while I go over there and pray. He took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, my Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will. Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour? He asked Peter. Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away a second time and prayed, my Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away, unless I drink it, may your will be done. When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer. In the dark of night, that time there was no electricity, Garden of Gethsemane was not lit by floodlights, dark place, night, cold. He is so troubled that he says, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. He feels the emotion. He did not run away from it. He did not try to diminish it. He said exactly how he feels. He did not acknowledge it. He acknowledged it not only to himself, but to those around him. He told the disciples that this is how I'm feeling. And then he says, he goes, he puts his face to the ground and prays. Okay? Pause. He's taking the pause and he's praying. If it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but your will. Faith in God's plan. Now, question to you, why does he do this 2 more times? Because verse 42, he went away 2nd time and prayed, my Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done. Same prayer, same emotion. Verse 44, so he left them and went away once more and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same thing. Why 3 times? Because it's not easy to do this. It's not easy to do this. I mean, I can give you 3 steps to do. But to do it is extremely difficult. And so much more difficult when it was what Jesus was going through. The emotion that he was, imagining the separation from his Father, that strong an emotion, we can appreciate that, right? When it's that strong an emotion, and imagine he just went and prayed once and he was like, okay, now I'm ready to go. No, it's tough. It's difficult. It is extremely difficult to do it. It's an exhausting thing to do. So he went, he came back, he went, he came back 3 times. And it took that much time for that emotion to be acknowledged, for that response to come, for his will to align with God's will. But when he comes back, he says, here comes my betrayer. Let's go. It's done. You've dealt with that emotion. One caution. When you deal with emotions, very easy, because you're answering to yourself, right? You're the best judge of have you dealt with that emotion or not. So it's very easy for you to say, okay, I tried, this is the best I could, now let's. Versus having done that to the full extent possible, you should be in a state where you move with a totally different emotional state. What the verses that continue after this, it was a scene of potential violence because the priest soldiers come, Peter cuts the ear. It's a very violent situation. Imagine if Jesus had not addressed that emotion within him, he would not have been in a place to tell Peter that put your sword back. Do you think, or even before that, when Judas came and kissed him, he said, do what you have come to do, my friend. If he had not addressed that emotion in him, could he have responded like that? Here's a person who was your follower. He's become your betrayer. You're looking at him face to face, and you're saying you're steady and you're calm and you're composed, and you're saying, do what you've come to do. And when violence starts, you say, put everything away. Can I not call my Father's angels here to protect me? I'm not choosing to do that. Total calm, because he's addressed that emotion. It is, fully dealt with. This is a caution that we should keep, because we ask ourselves, we can tell ourselves, yes, I've dealt with the emotion. But if we feel that we continue to operate in the same way that we used to operate before, then we have not really dealt with that emotion. One barrier that can come up is, okay, all of this is great. You said first step is feel the emotion, right? I felt the emotion. Second step, pause, respond, and pray. What do I pray? How do I put my emotion in words? How do I describe what I am feeling? You know, a lot of times we're feeling something very strongly, but we cannot like describe it, you know. Don't worry, God has a solution for this also. He's given Psalm. If you go to the book of Psalms, and Pastor has been, spoke about the muscles. There are times when I have felt a burden within me which I could not explain, but when I read a psalm, it was exactly what I'm feeling. You know, Psalm 42:11 says, "My soul, why are you downcast within?" In a normal scenario, you will not know how to describe that feeling. Psalms give voice to our emotions. A lot of times when we cannot express what we are going through, pick up the book of Psalms and go through it. There will be one which expresses exactly what you're feeling. And the language that's used is very descriptive. It's very descriptive because it is designed to describe your emotion. Okay? So I'll conclude with summary. First, halt. What is halt? Yes. Hungry, when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, do not engage in trying to manage emotions or responding to emotions. The don'ts, things which I'm very good at, don'ts, do not distract from the emotion. Don't deny it, don't try to diminish it. What are the do's? Number one, feel the emotion, pause and respond, and then respond in faith, aligning yourself with God's plan for you, knowing that He is in control. Okay, it is as per His will. Okay, thank you for listening patiently. I'll now call Pastor to close.